A lot of folks in the general public, just standard college football fans, really loved USC going to Notre Dame. Notre Dame was struggling on offense. USC, of course, scores a ton. What happened? Well, Steve told us the day before the game that Notre Dame should be a prime pick to take as a slim favorite in that matchup, and Notre Dame certainly covered in a big way. We got Steve Merrill here from Wager Talk to break down the biggest and the best games in college football for us each and every week. So jump from team channel to team channel, and you'll get all the breakdowns on all the big ball games for those specific teams. And then we will tell you more about the under the radar pick here in just a second. Utah USC. They played twice last year because they played in the championship game, and Cam Rising continues to be doubtful for this game for Utah, but the Utes still continue to rely on defense. But they're a 7-point dog at the Coliseum against the USC bunch that, of course, got it handed to them last week against Notre Dame.
Yeah, and obviously with one loss, nowadays you're not out of the picture, especially with the playoff format. But that was a huge blow for USC's national title hopes, and you do always worry about a little bit of a hangover. But I think we overuse the term revenge, especially in college football. It's really not much of a handicapping factor for me normally, but if there's ever a legitimate revenge spot for some of the reasons you just touched on, Mark, is this USC-Utah matchup. And I mean, I'll take it a step further. The only two losses USC had last year before the bowl game were against Utah. And then, of course, they came in flat. They didn't take the Tulane game seriously, and they lost that. It would have been a totally different picture otherwise. So this is basically an undefeated football team going into the playoffs last year. They would have been a playoff team if not for Utah. So Utah took away national title hopes last year for USC, and they did match up well because USC, including the Tulane loss, USC outstatted every opponent they played except two, and that was the two Utah games. So Utah had their number, as you said, though, without the quarterback. It's a little bit of a different team right now, and they have been struggling offensively. They run the ball for 4 yards per play. They throw for 6.4 against teams that average 7.6. USC's given up just 7.2. And USC's defense has given up a lot of points, but they've played some tough offensive teams. In fact, now after factoring in Notre Dame's strong offense, USC on the season's given up 5.7 yards per play against teams that average 5.8. They're actually slightly above average, which would probably surprise a lot of people, where they have a huge edge, though. They throw for almost 10 yards per pass. That's almost 3 yards per pass, 3.5 yards per pass, better than Utah. They average nearly 3 yards per play more than Utah. So yes, Utah is the better defensive team, but USC is a tremendously better offensive team. So let's look at the math. I do think we get a little bit of a discount because USC was blown out last week. They opened as short as 5. It's now 7. So the odds makers really underpriced this game. And my database simulation, 10,000 games run, has them winning by 9. So yes, we're getting a good coach, good defensive underdog, but USC is the much better team overall with offense. They have revenge. I think that keeps them focused because that's my biggest concern is how they respond after the Notre Dame loss. I think the fact that it's Utah, they'll come to play, and we do get some line value at -7 or less.
Folks, you see the 17-3 number on this banner? That's not a football score. That's actually a betting record, a prediction record by Steve. Where do you get that? Well, it's an under the radar selection that we so much appreciate Steve providing just for us at the Voice of College Football. That's the only place you can find it, exclusive to us, either on Patreon or as a YouTube member. You can do either one, patreon.com/MarkRogersTV, or as a YouTube member on the main channel. Check out the other segments that we post with Steve on all the other teams on the team channels as well. Steve, thanks so much for the breakdown.
Thanks, Mark.